All right, welcome back to part 3 of Guitar Harmony 101. I'm Slim Gambill for Vox. Now that we have all that theoretical nonsense out of the way, we learned our scales, we worked on our intervals, and we worked on arpeggios. Now we're going to actually apply that and make some actual music, if you can believe that. I've just got a click track going. I'm just going to kind of play a rhythm part, E major, C sharp minor, A major, E major, kind of just like a major happy music, Allman Brothers, Deadhead, Spin Doctors, Blues Traveler-ish, maybe, something like that. You'll get the idea. I'm just going to play a rhythm part, we'll go over the melody, and we're going to harmonize it. Okay, so there we have our rhythm part, and now what we're going to do is come up with a melody. So I'm just going to do a melody that's based on that major pentatonic scale. I'm just going to go, and then for the A chord, that's where that note comes in because I'm playing over an A chord, so that's an A note. Throw down that melody, and then we're going to harmonize it. So, how do we approach harmonizing that? Like, a really easy way to do it in this kind of genre, like kind of the Allman Brothers approaches, you can literally kind of like just go down to the next string and stay in that major pentatonic, and it sounds pretty cool. So, my first note is this, so my harmony note could be just below it. 12th fret B string instead of 12th fret E string. And the whole melody walks down the scale. So I could just do that same motion. Right, and then I get to the second half. So there, like right below it in the pentatonic scale is here. Okay, so all we're doing is kind of taking the same motion, but doing it a string down. Okay, a string lower in pitch. So let's see how that sounds. I think it's going to sound pretty cool. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Super cool, right? So that's basically just like just really classic Allman Brothers-y kind of harmony, just like by taking your major pentatonic and just going down below it or right up above it. Sounds pretty cool. It kind of mixes and matches intervals. If we want to do some true interval stuff in this case, I'm going to do something with my full E major scale. Okay? And I'm actually going to walk straight down that scale. Okay, I'm going to throw down that part real quick. Okay, so that's a little bit different, and we can use actually the concept of intervals we talked about in part 2 in that case, because what we do is we just say, okay, say I want to go a third below that, because again, thirds always sound good. Thirds generally sound good. So we take our first note of the melody, walk straight down the E major scale. 1, 2, 3. So that's a third below that first melody note. And since in this case, we're just walking down the scale, we just walk down the scale, but from our harmony note. Okay, the second half of the melody, same thing. We walk down our major scale. 1, 2, 3. And then I continue down the scale. Would be a direct harmony. I happen to know that this note probably won't sound great when we land on that last E chord because it's not really an E. So what we can do is kind of go into our E major arpeggio and find a note that works for that last note when we land the E chord, because our melody is landing on that root. So we want to land on something on that E chord. So that's That sounds like a good candidate. So our melody on the back half, our harmony, 1, 2, 3, we'll start there. Okay, so instead of going straight down the scale, we land on that note that's in the E major arpeggio in order to make sure it harmonizes with the chord underneath it. So let's see how that approach sounds. Killer, right? I mean, it's just like a cool way to just grab the third below. We had to adjust for what chord was happening. We could also take it, we can do that with whatever we want. I mean, we can take, say we want to do a sixth below, because again, that's another cool interval. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's a sixth below our the first note of our melody. So we can just, right? Same thing, just walk down the scale. As your melodies get more complicated, you can kind of jump around with those intervals, like basically kind of jump around in the same way your melody jumps around, or you can just take each note at a time and just kind of count to whatever interval you're going for until you kind of start getting used to doing it naturally. And again, if a note doesn't sound right, find a note in the underlying chord, an arpeggio from the underlying chord, find one of those notes, or just experiment, just grab another note in the scale. See what works. At the end of the day, let your ear guide you and you're going to come up with something really cool. But that's kind of like a baseline conceptual way to attack it just to get you started. So that's kind of the crash course in major guitar harmony. Come back for number 4, part 4, episode 4 of Guitar Harmony 101, when we're going to get into kind of a dark major, the opposite of major, minor thing. We're going to explore minor harmony, and it's going to be sick. See you then.